Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about going digital, bringing your business digital during the COVID-19 outbreak, and maybe even beyond that, and giving yourself a digital footprint for your business. Today, we're going to be talking about a variety of different um, software products that allow your business to function kind of in a more digital environment, and that will help you with social distancing and just giving your clients confidence that you've got a plan in place to continue to run your business and still serve them while keeping a little bit of distance on a personal level. So today we're going to talk about going digital. What does it mean? Creating a digital policy for COVID-19 so that if somebody asks you about that, you'll be able to tell them how you're dealing with it. We'll talk about Google G Suite products, and specifically, we'll talk a little bit about Google Hangouts Meet. For Microsoft, we have Microsoft 365, and that encompasses things like Microsoft Teams for business, as well as Skype for business. Now, we'll also touch on Apple, although there's not much that Apple is offering by way of business software. They rely on people using 365 and Google G Suite and just using Apple hardware for the most part. We'll talk about digital signatures. How do you put that in place? And a company that we use a lot at Better Living Real Estate, which is DocuSign, and then Zoom video meeting, which you are all on today. So let's start with creating the protocols, and thinking about safety. So you should first off tell everybody about your concerns for their health, and that is people both inside of your company and outside of your company. A lot of times when we talk about a digital plan, we might be thinking about creating a digital plan that allows us to service customers, but think about all of the people that are valuable to your company. And it starts with the employees. Without your employees being healthy and being able to function, you're not going to be able to help your clients and your customers achieve their goals and interact with your company. So your digital plan really needs to be about everybody's health, everybody being able to connect. So if you look at how you need to operate, don't fool yourself. Having people in one room, even if it's two people, can cause the spread of a virus. There's plenty of information. We're not going to go through all of that today. Plenty of information about COVID-19, just general health out there. And the CDC website is probably your best bet to start with that research. So creating a digital document plan, we talk about a digital plan to interact with customers and clients, but we really a lot of times need to replace our pen and ink signature with a digital document plan. So what we've done at Better Living Real Estate, and what we would encourage all of you to do, is think about reducing your use of paper. That would be paper inside of your office as well as outside of your office. And I'll give you a great example. If you're going digital and you start to think of paper as a digital product, what you're able to do is take all of those paper documents, and rather than hitting print and using all the toner and ink and paper and distributing that around and having it sit on someone's desk, you can think about that paper, but you can think about putting it into an organizational system that's on what we call the cloud. Okay, and the cloud is basically a digital platform that allows you to keep all of your documents organized online. And that also doesn't mean you're abandoning them from your computer. Some of you say, well, I save all my files on my computer, and that's okay. Using these new digital techniques, Microsoft Office 365, Google G Suite, allows you to still have documents local to your computer in case you are offline for a little while on a power outage, or you're traveling to home from your office. You may say, I want some things on my laptop or on my computer. Well, that's fine. But if you start to think about things in the cloud, in the digital cloud, you could be at your home and not at your office and still access all of the files that you've pushed up and stored on the cloud. We do that today. If any of you are using Android and iPhones, we're interacting with digital devices, and we have information that might be stored not just on our device, but on, if you're using an iOS device, you might have it on the iCloud system. If you're using Android, you might be using things like Google Photos, which is storing in our Google servers. So there's all these things that we're already interacting with digitally and cloud-based, but we just may not think about it yet. So what we want you to think about is reducing that stack of papers that someone in your office might contaminate, that might get passed on to a client or a customer, and contamination from that piece of paper now goes into their hands, their car, their house. And right now, health experts, if you read information out of the CDC, they don't know how long the COVID-19 virus survives on paper or other materials that it lands on. So we know it's an airborne virus. We know it's respiratory, but those droplets that we cough or we exhale, they do fall onto things around us. So again, keeping your device in your control, not allowing other people to touch your device. If other people do touch your device, making sure it's sanitized, and getting rid of paper is a huge part of this. So we talk about paper signing and documents you might need signed, and there are products out there like DocuSign, Dotloop, and Digital Ink, and those things are some that we're going to talk about today. So create a video meeting plan for your company as well. When people are away from a physical space where they're used to driving in and sitting at a desk and gathering and seeing each other kind of around the water cooler, so to speak, they can start to feel a little bit isolated. So Better Living Real Estate, we've been a digital company for a decade now. And what we do are these video meetings, and we do them twice per week as teams. And then individually, we do one-to-one meetings, typically between our support VPs and the real estate associates that are working with them on educational projects or client collaboratives. We have a team approach here where multiple agents may be working for a client at the same time, and they're able to not only come together in a video meeting, but in these video meetings, much like I'm doing with you now, they're able to share documents. So it would be nice for you to be able to share these documents, and be able to talk about them with your teammates. And you can do that using these types of video meeting software packages. Zoom meeting, like we're on now, it's pretty inexpensive overall, $14.95 a month for the Pro version, which is what I'm using today. Google Hangouts Meet is part of the G Suite family of products, and that is a business grade piece of software and allows you to have multiple people in that type of meeting environment online. What's unique about the Google Hangouts Meet product is it opens in a web browser. So it opens a tab in a web browser. If someone clicks on a link to join the meeting, they don't have to download a lot of software. It just simply opens up their web browser, opens up the meeting in a tab, and just starts running. So it's a real clean, easy piece of software to use. Skype and Microsoft Teams is Microsoft's version of Google Hangouts Meet and Zoom. So all of these companies have their own versions of video meeting and collaborative software. And then for Apple users, if you're an iOS user, you might be using FaceTime on your iOS devices. And remember that the Apple marketplace is one of the biggest marketplaces in the United States, meaning their devices are in a lot of people's homes, whether it's an iPad or an iPhone. If you have either one of those devices as a device that you use in your business, you may be talking to people that may not be digitally sophisticated, but if they have an iPhone, you can say, well, I'll FaceTime you, or an iPad, let me FaceTime you. Now they can also download Zoom, Google Hangouts Meet, Skype, or Microsoft Teams on Android or iOS devices. So there's really no reason why you can't connect with your clients and customers in a video meeting if you need to present some information to them. If you don't need to present information to them, in a good old-fashioned phone call might do the trick. So what do we know about the virus? Well, we know that we want to keep everybody staying healthy during the season. And this slideshow, which I'll make available after this meeting, uh, goes through things to keep in mind as you're creating your digital plan and why it's important for you to have a digital plan. So we're going to talk more specifically about some of the products that I was just mentioning. So first is the Google Cloud. Okay, so cloud is this kind of digital word that we all hear, and what that really means is that things that are in the cloud aren't sitting just on your computer. So you can access them, you can see them on your computer. But when you think of the cloud, what you're taking is all of that digital information that's on your computer, and anything saved on your computer is considered digital. And that goes up to whatever company that you buy cloud services from, it goes up to their computers. Now, all of these companies have big data centers. Now, what does that mean? That's just a big building filled with rows and rows of computers. And they manage all the information that is coming in and going out from that data center, and that's stored on individual computers. So if you've ever seen a desktop computer, think of kind of like a lot of desktop computers in one big building, and they've got professional people that manage that. So Google came out with a product called G Suite, and as you can see in their diagram, it runs on computers, it runs on phones, it runs on tablets. So again, laptops, iPhone, an Android phone, and then an iPad or an Android tablet. All of the digital software that we're talking about will run on all these devices. So the cool thing is once you start to adopt a cloud-based platform, it's not going to be a lot different than what you're probably doing today. You're probably either using Microsoft products as your main business management product, or you're using Google. Those are the two big ones out there. You may also be integrating other products. I know that my company uses QuickBooks. QuickBooks also has a cloud-based platform, and you can explore that with QuickBooks and talk to the accounting firm that you're working with, or talk to QuickBooks themselves, and they can create that digital cloud for your business using QuickBooks. So you can take your books out of your office, leave all the main stuff there, and take out a laptop and have your controller or your bookkeeper be able to manage your books in the QuickBooks digital cloud as well. For those of you who say, well, I want to have access to my office computer, there are things like VPN products. Okay, we're not going to go into VPN today because for most small businesses, you don't need VPN. But if you really need to keep certain things on your computer at your office and access it there, then talk to your network support person about creating a VPN where you can have a secure connection between your home device or your mobile device and the device that's in your office on your network servers at your office. So most of the time people are using VPNs to access local network servers and then not necessarily on the cloud. But today we want to talk about getting you on the cloud. And some of the people that talk about cloud say, well, I can't get on the cloud because I have everything in my business servers at my office. And we used to have that solution too, and it worked great. But that's an old-fashioned solution that you can start to migrate out of. You can see that in G Suite, their pricing is on a per user basis. So if you are like Better Living Real Estate, you can provide basic software if you'd like for $6 per month per user, or you can provide a little bit more robust software, and that's $12 per user. Most of us as small business owners won't need enterprise, okay? So what does the $12 per month give you? Well, it gives you some additional opportunities to do some administrative work. So you may have certain security protocols. You may need to maintain documents. And so what you are able to do is vault and save documents for compliance. So these companies give you the ability to utilize all of this cloud-based software to have individual storage in the cloud, which in Google's world is Google Drive, and also to vault or to save documents. Now, vaulting is something that you're probably doing on your internal networks server. You are probably spending a lot of money with firewalls. You're spending money to try to protect from intrusion. But what you'll find is probably your budget isn't the same as Google's. Google's got a lot more money, and they've got a lot more experts, and they probably have the ability to work with your company within your industry's compliance department and needs, and move your information from your local network servers up into a digital footprint. So it's worth connecting with Google, and you can see you can contact sales right here, and I'm sure they're going to make themselves especially available as all of us are looking for ways to go digital. Now, their meeting platform is called Hangouts Meet. Now, there are two versions of it. There's kind of the public version, which is just Google Hangouts, but the business version is called Hangouts Meet. And the business version gives you all of the ability to run a meeting face to face with multiple people. You can connect them from multiple areas, bring them all together. It works right with your normal calendaring system. So if you're using a calendar on your phone or on your laptop or on your home desktop, and you want to formulate a meeting, you can download little applets that will integrate with your calendar, and you can set up a calendar meeting right there with a URL address, which is a meeting address. Okay, so we're not going to go into all of the details of that right here, but we certainly can explore that a little bit more in the Q&A section. Okay. Now, for those of you who are Microsoft based, which is probably a lot of you, what you can do is think of your Microsoft software as portable. All right, Microsoft has really done a great job with its Office 365 suite. So all of the things that you are typically using, they are all up on the Microsoft cloud if you start to use OneDrive, which is what they use to bring all of your material into their digital cloud. OneDrive is Microsoft's digital cloud, just like Google Drive is Google's digital cloud. Okay. Now, if you're using Outlook and using all of the different email solutions, Gmail for G Suite, those are already in the cloud. So all your email is up on the cloud already. And even when you look at it on your device, you're interacting with your email cloud. So yeah, we're not really making too big of a leap. But Microsoft has this as a turnkey product. And if you're not familiar with it, you can simply contact Microsoft and do a little bit more research, maybe with your network person, as to how we can get everything off of our Office servers and into our OneDrive cloud. For you to be able to do your chats and your meetings, Microsoft has a really neat program they've come out with called Microsoft Teams. Some of you are familiar with Skype, Skype for Business. Skype for Business kind of moved into Microsoft Teams, which still incorporates the Skype technology. And then if you're using just the consumer-based Skype, it's a simple app you can download on all your devices, and it's similar to FaceTime for the iOS users, if you've ever used FaceTime. And it's similar to the Google Hangouts program. So all of these companies have their consumer-based programs, and then for us as business professionals, they have more of a business grade program. And Microsoft Teams is a really cool way for you to take your Microsoft platform and make it work for you in a way where you can share documents, you can do video meetings, and even in this diagram, you can see that there are multiple people, just like we have today in the Zoom cloud. Okay, so here's Microsoft's Skype product. This Skype product is geared now more for the consumer. So if you want to try out Skype and just use a consumer version, or if you want your customer to connect with you on the consumer version of Skype, that's fine too. You know, you're going to need to adapt your digital business to what your customer's digital expertise is. You're not going to want to train them to become digital experts. So the first question you'll ask them as you map out your digital plan is, what kind of software do you use? What kind of devices do you use? If they say that they're using a Microsoft laptop, then it should be fairly easy for them to download any of these pieces of software or connect with you on any of those pieces of software compatible with Microsoft. If they're using an Apple computer, they should still be able to do that, because a lot of this is web browser based, And if they're using an iPad or a phone device, a handheld device, all of these pieces of software have apps that they can download. So you can talk with them about what they're comfortable with and then try to adapt your digital business to adjust to that. Now, the more familiar you become with all of these digital meeting software pieces that connect into your office suites already, the more you're going to be able to have control and say, why don't I just email you a link? You can click on a link and then we'll be in a meeting. And so that's kind of the easiest and smartest way to do it if they are in front of a computer. If they're on a mobile device, they may need to still download the particular software. So if you're using Google Hangouts, for example, they may need to use Google Hangouts Meet software. They would just download it from their app store. And when you send them the link and they open it in their device using their email on their device, it will automatically open the app. Same thing for an iPad or a tablet. Okay. Same thing if you're using Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Skype. Okay. Now, for digital signatures, we like DocuSign. It's one of our favorite pieces of software. In the real estate business, we also use software like Loop and Digital Ink. So you may already have a digital document signing program that meets your compliance and that one of your vendors has already authorized you to use. So turn to some of the vendors that you interact with on a regular basis. If you're an accounting firm, you may have specific accounting software that you use. If you are a real estate firm, we have specific real estate software that we use for our forms. If you are a law firm, you may have certain protocols that you've put into place. So all of us have certain vendors that we might use. First place to go is to your vendor and ask if they have a digital solution for your company and what they recommend. That way it might integrate right into the compliance that you already have. So if you haven't explored DocuSign and it's an option for you, it's super easy to use. You can download it on your laptop, your desktop. You can do that through your web browser, or you can download the software on your iOS or Android device, whether it's a phone or tablet. It really makes signing easy because you have your digital document and you'll simply do a drag and drop or click upload and then find the document on your device, upload it to DocuSign, and you simply put in the person's name and their email address, and their email address becomes the particular item that verifies they are who they are. Okay, because the email is unique to an individual. People own an email, it's password protected, and this is in compliance with a lot of legal systems. So in your particular industry, you'll have to find out what electronic document software and electronic documents in particular would be in compliance with your industry. Your industry vendor who handles compliance will be able to tell you that. Okay. So we now are coming over to Zoom. So Zoom is the platform you're all using. You saw how quick and easy it was. Zoom is very similar to all these other digital online platforms, but they all work a little differently. So like sharing my screen like I'm doing right now, you'll do that a little bit differently in Skype, and you'll do that a little differently in Teams, and you'll do that a little differently when you're using Google Hangouts Meet. But you can do it nonetheless, okay? There's even ways that you can share screens so that when you're working on a document, you can work on it jointly. So as you get more familiar with these particular pieces of software, you'll become more comfortable using them and find more ways to collaborate. In fact, it may end up being that you're creating a digital plan for your company that frees your company from requiring people to go to your office all of the time. And overall, that could end up allowing you to have a more nimble and kind of more agile workforce, which is really what the cloud is all about. So again, we're going to finish off just talking about FaceTime for your iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch. You're really talking about using FaceTime mainly on your iOS devices. However, if you have an Apple computer, FaceTime now works on the Apple computer as well. So if you're an Apple ecosystem, you can start very easily by using FaceTime and then kind of graduate into a little bit more advanced meeting software. to accomplish things like screen sharing and working on documents together. So with that, I am going to ask if there are any questions, and we can talk a little bit about um, dealing with a digital footprint or digital software. For anyone who's joining us today that wants to ask any questions or talk about your business in particular, feel free to turn your camera on, to unmute, and we can certainly go through anything in particular that you have a question on. If you have experience in the digital world, feel free to share your experience. I've shared a little bit of information about how we as a small business have been able to digitize, but certainly working in different industries, each of you may have kind of a different solution that you've been implementing. So, any questions out there? And while you're formulating questions, I am going to talk to Kevin Martin and ask him to join us and talk a little bit about digital footprint, digital plans. If Kevin is still with us, let's see. There he is. Kevin, you work in a digital environment with your clients all the time. You are a person that's working in the computer field helping small businesses. Can you introduce yourself and your business a little bit and give a little background on what you're doing to help your clients go and stay digital?
Yes, so my name is Kevin Martin with Nerds to Go. We're in Franklin, Massachusetts, and I've known Bob for several years, and he just gave a great overview of a lot of the stuff that we're interacting with on a routine basis. Because while Bob is technically very savvy, a lot of our business owners are not, and so specifically with the heightened awareness, social responsibility, but our desire and need to drive businesses forward and keep the economy moving. People are asking us for help because there's enough for everyone to focus on. Pulling in something new in the 11th hour for some of these business owners feels overwhelming. So we're receiving a lot of calls to help business owners, and many times they're not ready to make the full transition to a perfect cloud-based solution. So they want to know, what can we do now? What can we leverage around what we already have, and put a technology roadmap together, a plan that's going to get them to that next level. Obviously, right now, everybody's reacting and responding to the environment that we're in, and time is not of the essence. Right now, we're reacting to a lot of businesses that have immediate needs. People need to work from home. Some people are realizing that they have more time because they're not commuting, and they're able to use that time. But there's a lot of social things happening in the family dynamic and other areas. So we're active. We've been really busy. The phones have been ringing. We have been traveling around Norfolk County quite a bit. And, for us, we have a concern associated with social responsibility. And, while we're in this, one of the things that we know to be true is that it's almost derogatory to some degree. The millennial class, they are a work from home class, but they're actually socially really aware, acutely aware, and they're communicating extremely well. So the rest of us are trying to integrate with that environment, and you see it a lot in your businesses because this class of people want everything to happen right away, and so they're fairly tech savvy. It allows it puts pressure, I should say, on a lot of business owners to integrate the items that Bob is talking about. And again, with all the other things that we have going on, people don't have the time. That's why Nerds to Go is able to help a variety of business owners, businesses get into the 21st century and use these technologies effectively, and really just answer their questions. So we have a few programs out there to help us do that. Great job, Bob. Excellent overview of all the different platforms. And we're seeing all of that on a daily basis, and things are really extreme right now. So I'll just cut off there. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate you giving kind of that overview. And, we have another guest today, and I'm not sure if he can join us, Paul Raymond. Paul Raymond is a friend of mine. I asked Paul to join us today. Paul is with IBM Business Solutions. He is one of their senior VPs. And Paul, if you're able to join us and just talk a little bit about the digital environment and kind of what you do at IBM and how you are working to support a lot of your clients.
Sure. So Bob, just making sure, can you hear me?
Yes.
So thank you, Bob. So I work for IBM. I've worked for them for about 26 years. And currently I work in the Watson Health space. So you talk about remote. I generally work out of my house. My folks are worldwide. I have people that work for me from Australia to Ireland to all over the US. And that can be a challenge, and trying to connect with them and keeping them up to date on different material, things that we're facing today, stuff like that. We do videotape a lot or record a lot of meetings. We use similar products, not exactly Zoom. We use WebEx, which is from Cisco and incorporated into IBM. We use products like Slack, which are kind of like a chat program, but what you're able to do with that is organize your thoughts, your groupings of people, and put them into folders or what they call channels. That's another product that's open for everyone. It's not an IBM product, it's a third-party product that we leverage. But it's important to try to share information so people are aware and don't feel disconnected. It's very easy to get disconnected when you're remote. It's easy to get distracted. I have this phone call, kids just walked in, let me just go deal with that. And you have to find a balance, find a space that you feel comfortable with within your house or wherever you're working from, to just make sure you can focus on what you're doing. But other than that, there's a lot of different software out there that you can leverage. Bob, you outlined a number of them very well, and it's just finding what fits for you.
Thanks, Paul. And Deb, you have a question? We're glad to start taking questions from anybody.
Yeah, thank you. I'm probably more concerned about what my clients are comfortable with and have access to than what I have access to, because I can probably be pretty flexible. A very large proportion of our clients are probably over 55. So I'm just wondering, from your expertise and the people there, is there something that you have noticed that age group is most comfortable with?
I can just start answering, and maybe then Kevin, if you want to jump in and talk about what you're doing with that age group as well. But from our standpoint, we deal with clients of every age group, and you'd be surprised that older clients are much more adapted to digital than what we might expect. They're doing it differently, like Paul and Kevin outlined. There are different comfort levels, and what we're looking to do is talk to them first about what devices they use and they own. If you're making an assumption that you've just gone with a Microsoft 365 product, and everyone's going to be getting on board because you're a Microsoft user and maybe you've remembered using it for years. We've probably all been Microsoft users at some point in our life, but dealing with whether they're older or even middle-aged, dealing with people that are not familiar with kind of the modern Microsoft. Maybe they remember it, when Bill Gates was still at the helm. You need to ask, what devices do you use and what are you comfortable with? And what I found in my practice is that seniors, a lot of them own iPads and a lot of them have iPhones. So I think that a lot of those folks you're going to see are very comfortable with iOS devices. The other group are either using a big desktop machine with a big monitor, and that's going to be either Apple or Microsoft. So even though you might be in a particular type of ecosystem for your business, and we talked about the Google ecosystem of G Suite, Microsoft 365, you have to understand that you're going to integrate what your ecosystem is with what your customer's absorption rate is. So my recommendation is, if you're going to start working to get them comfortable, use a video meeting software that really just requires them to click a link in an email and then have all of the stuff on their device happen in the background. So if you're using, let's say, like our company uses G Suite, and if we're setting up a meeting using Google Hangouts Meet, we'll either set up the meeting and right in the meeting be able to email them a link, or we might send them a calendar invitation and it magically populates in the calendar. We should just click on the link. If you're using Zoom like we are today, there's a control panel as a host, and you simply go to your participants list and then you can invite participants, and then it gives you an option to invite by email, sends them an email. Now, the difference between something like Google Hangouts Meet and Zoom is that Google Hangouts Meet, when they receive that email link, as I had said earlier, it opens a browser tab, right? So you may be talking to them and say, yeah, we're just going to do it in your browser. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. So like, as you get people that are maybe away from an office, they're just like, well, I look at things on the internet. And I have people that are older that still call it the World Wide Web. We all remember that. So like, there's nothing wrong with that. You just need to make it easy for them to absorb. And so, go to your email and click on the link and have it open up automatically. It's a lot easier to absorb. Now, if you're using any of this software and they're doing it on a desktop or a laptop, then it may be easy because a lot of stuff will happen in the background. But on their local iOS device, most people I find don't have Samsung or Android tablets. They'll have an iPad, or they'll have an Android phone, or they'll have an iPhone. In the older segment, a lot of people are iOS devices because they just find it easier. So you may say, well, we're going to have a meeting using this particular piece of software. Go to your app store and download that. Okay, and you have to kind of walk them through that, but tell them it'll be okay. Tell them this will be a fun kind of new experience for them in scary times. We have to be the cheerleaders in the scary times. Like, I woke up today and I saw an opportunity to connect with other business people that I haven't met before, and I'm delighted to be able to see all of you. And hopefully, when we're not quarantined, I'll see more of you at meetups and social events that our brokerage puts on. And so, even in the worst of times, there are opportunities to find good things. And part of those things that we can bring to our clients is the comfort of having a face-to-face meeting. They might feel isolated. So offer a face-to-face option with them. Offer to review a document with them together in a face-to-face meeting. Might bring them a sense of calm and make you look like a professional that really cares and is thoughtful.
Love that. Thank you.
You bet.
Hey, Bob,
Yeah.
to follow up on Deb's question. Deb, for you, do you sign in person on contracts and purchase orders and things, or is that something that you could send digitally as well and get a digital signature?
I can do digital. This session made me realize when I'm in the home, I hand people my phone because they've used like a Clover or a Square device and they sign on my phone, and it just never even occurred to me that they're smearing their stuff all over my phone. But I could definitely, do that on a DocuSign as well.
Okay. Is that something
As
you've
far
used
as
before?
I have not.
Okay.
So I'll have to look into that. But as far as credit cards, though, we're going to be racking up a lot more credit card charges because it's not an in-person, card swipe. So, but
So
it is
your credit card vendor will have an online solution for you already.
okay.
They're all credit card vendors, and I'm not talking about just Square, but if you are using the Square service through a particular vendor, you just need to reach out to your vendor and they will have a digital plan for you already to be able to take credit cards over the internet, and they can give you a portal, that's your customer portal. That's something that has been in place prior to, this type of scenario.
Yeah, I do
Kevin,
have that.
yeah.
It's just
Oh,
that
you
the
do?
charges are higher because the credit card's not present. Unless maybe
Okay.
they're giving people breaks at this time. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening out there. I'm going to turn to Kevin Martin again. Kevin, do you work with clients with credit card transactions in kind of a digital footprint?
We do. So I think, one of the challenges that a lot of business owners are dealing with is they're hesitant to move into the credit card processing because of the additional percentage, 3% charge that's coming from some of these companies. So, and I almost felt like maybe Deb was asking that question because she's going to be processing those more, so she's concerned about that hit. I may have misinterpreted that, but in general, we are working with a lot of different merchants, services to help integrate those businesses. And it is an individual choice because business owners are very selective in the technology that they want to bring on. So again, we're coming from bringing older business owners up to date versus the newer business owners that are just kind of pulling this stuff in and having that access to the customer portals and being able to process their credit card payments without necessarily having to put additional PIN pad devices in place or having an iPad point of sale type of a solution. So we see a broad variety, and it's very unique to the business owner as to which solution they prefer to use.
And I think, the first place to go is the credit card vendor and see what solutions they have available to you. They are the digital experts on their platform. Mm-hmm. And I do know that there are some people that will take a credit card over the phone and key it in on their own system. And
I will.
I can tell you though, as a consumer, I don't like it as much. I like to be able to make sure that I'm keying it in a secure and private website, and that it's a one-time key, and I don't want it stored. I don't want it written on someone's piece of paper at their home office, and that teenager gets it and starts buying T-shirts while they're home from school. These are the things that you have to understand. Your consumer needs to be comfortable, and that cost, whether it's 2%, 3%, or 5%, that cost that you're going to incur in this climate is worth the investment to maintain your consumer connectivity, because if you don't maintain it, they are going to connect with other vendors that can offer these things. We're not talking about a week or two. We're talking about months of change here in our businesses. So you really need this to have the mindset of this is not a temporary digital plan. This is where you have time that you may not have had otherwise to be connecting in like we're doing today, and to be, improving your business. During the Great Recession, when we were running our real estate company, we stopped thinking about doing real estate transactions. That might sound kind of funny. We still did them. But what we did is we started to move into a digital plan and a post-recession plan. And right now, we are all in a unique position where we can continue to think, what do our businesses look like post COVID-19? Because we're going to get on the other side of this, and countries already have. So, Paul, I want to tap into your insight again and ask you a question. I brought up VPN. Could you tell us, does IBM work in VPN environments, and what's your experience with that?
Yes, we do. Actually, we have to, because mainly what I'm dealing with is all HIPAA compliance. So even though I don't look at the specific data, we do handle that. We store it. We're writing code for it. So we have to use a VPN, and basically a VPN, for those that don't know, it's a tunnel. It opens up a connection from my computer into IBM, and it's a secure connection. So it acts as if I'm sitting in the office on their hardwired network. So, but yes, we do use that. AT&T, Cisco offer some of the products. Currently, we're using Cisco's version because they have a solution that works across Mac and Windows. And for ourselves, we actually have a version that works on phones, on mobile devices. So one solution that goes across every platform. And for us, that could be end users using Linux, using Mac, using Windows, iPhones, or any other mobile device. So we try to limit how many different applications we have to use. We hate it when we have to use one thing for one operating system and another tool for another operating system. It becomes more difficult to troubleshoot and support.
So that's a good point, Paul. Thanks for bringing that up. When you said, look, utilizing too many tools can be too difficult to support, we as small business owners need to think like that as well. We need to understand that if we're already a Microsoft company or already a Gmail company, we can start there and start to use all of the systems that these large corporations like an IBM have built out for us as small business users. And if you need to gain access to computers at work while you're not there, you can start to integrate cloud, but you can also, think about using other pieces of software that allow you these secure pipes, as Paul mentioned. And again, VPN, this is an old term. It stands for Virtual Private Network. And what that really means is that outside of your office, you can still be connected to your network. Okay, so Kevin, I'm going to just switch back over to you and ask, have you implemented VPN solutions on a small business scale using Microsoft or Google?
We have, yeah. So there's a couple different choices. And now earlier on, Bob, you mentioned firewall, and that a firewall was not necessarily needed for many small businesses. And I think there's a discussion point there that ultimately what we're describing here with a virtual private network is a layer of protection. A firewall is another layer of protection. And those two things integrate very well in connecting with your local network. Now, when we move that to the cloud-based solutions like a Google G Suite, Office 365, Microsoft product set, those elements are protected, but they still offer additional layers like VPN and firewall protection. And where that interacts with you and your clientele is that we mentioned the 55 and older crowd, the AOL crowd. Some of these folks are still using very vulnerable email solutions, and email is where 90% of the threats are getting into small businesses. So having a VPN offers a layer of protection in clear line communication. So if I'm sending Bob communication at his desk from my desk, I can do that through a secure encrypted tunnel called a virtual private network. At each endpoint, my end and his end, we could be protected through firewall protection, which is a filtration solution. And what that does is it is updated with the latest threats and is actively looking at the communication. So one of the things that may come up is when we send OneDrive documents, as an example, it's possible for these things to be captured, and then the destination or origination source address gets appended or changed. And we may not pay attention to it because I always get a OneDrive connection from Bob. I know that that's going to be good because I know Bob. Well, somewhere in the middle that got interpreted and appended, and now my trusted relationship with Bob suddenly feels jeopardized because we got captured somewhere in the middle. That's where the firewall and VPN protections help a lot of business owners the most. The other thing that's unique about the online solutions, specifically Office 365 and G Suite, are that additional layers can be put in so that you have additional virus protection within your email itself. You also have the ability to encrypt emails so that things are not being sent in the clear. Something being sent in the clear means that the text, so if I'm asking Bob to wire money to me as a deposit for a transaction that we're getting ready to do, and that keyword wire comes across in an email, then there are people actively looking for that type of language, that keyword, so that they can append information and potentially set up an alias email with Bob's name that looks like Bob's company, and then they'll capture the transaction and send it to a new routing number, a new destination bank. So we see these types of things, and we help businesses out with those things.
So, Kevin, thank you. You've covered a lot of ground, and you actually scared the heck out of most of us, right? So the reality is that we have experts like Kevin that if you're a little overwhelmed in security, you can turn to Kevin. And Kevin, you can find him by searching Nerds to Go Franklin, Massachusetts, and you can find Kevin's company, Nerds to Go Franklin, Massachusetts, for a consultation there. We have a question from an iPhone user. There's no name, it just says iPhone. So if you're interested in asking a question, please unmute yourself on your iPhone and feel free to ask.
Hi, Bob. It's Sean Strock.
Hi there, Sean.
I just wanted to make a comment back to the credit card processing for clients.
Sure, go ahead. Yep.
I have a system just for designers. It's called Ivy, and I'm sure a lot of other people have customer management and product management systems that they can charge clients either by credit card or by bank transfer. And bank transfer on mine is only 1%. So I just wanted to throw that out there that, you know, there are ways to sort of make that less expensive for you, charging credit cards and stuff. And when you're on some of these systems, they just do a flat rate rather than, I know a lot of credit cards that have points or Amex will charge higher fees to the vendor. And through these systems, again, I always get a flat rate. I believe it's 3% on credit cards and 1% on transfers. And I'm able to allow the client to only process through a transfer if that's what I want to do.
So that product you're using is Ivy, am I correct?
Yeah,
so,
specifically
you know,
for the interior design industry, but I've got to believe that there are other ones out there, and maybe some people can speak to maybe ones that they're using. where you can control that, and it is a secure server. It's been really great for my business. I've worked virtually with a few clients that have been in Florida and New York City that were moving up here in the last couple of years, and they were very big clients, and we moved a lot of money through that system, and they were very comfortable with it.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Sean. And, you know, all of us have connected today in the digital environment. So if you say, gee, I'm not digitally set up, you've just done it digitally today. So welcome to the digital environment. And I want to thank all of you for connecting with Better Living Real Estate today. And I hope you found that your relationship with Better Living Real Estate brought you some value. The associates that you know at Better Living Real Estate are part of our digital solution. They are part of what makes our company great. So remember, what makes your company great are the people that work in your company. They are the ones that your customers and clients turn to. So empower them with the tools they need to be successful, not just in a time of crisis, but also in these growth opportunities that will happen post-COVID-19. If you have any other questions, reach out to your Better Living Real Estate associate. They can set up a video conference meeting with you. They can show you what they're using. They're all extremely well trained in digital platform. And we hope we see you in our social meetups when we start having them again, and we have our social gatherings. And we hope that you're able to navigate these waters. We'll be recording this video into YouTube format, and you can come back and take a look at it again if you want to just get a refresher. You can connect with smart people like Kevin Martin at Nerds to Go in Franklin, and we'll also make that slideshow available through the link on the video. So I wish you all a great and successful day and week, and you know, get digital with us. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.